You're watching an amazing podcast from an amazing podcast company.
Hello, Mob Associates. Johnny Ciccatelli here with Jim Naples, back for another Youngstown Mob Talk. It's been a couple weeks, Jim.
Yeah.
How you been doing?
I've been doing great. Just busy summer stuff, family, getting ready to go back to teaching and all that fun stuff. So,
Yeah.
and get ready for the big show.
Absolutely. We got a big show coming up in November. We'll talk about more of that later. Big thanks to our sponsors, everybody that sponsors our show: Youngstown Tile, Sunrise Inn, and the River Rock. We'll talk about them too in a little bit. But first, let's just jump into things. We got a lot of great posts the last few weeks.
Oh, we've had tons of great stuff.
The Facebook group is growing. If you guys aren't a member yet, find us on Facebook at Youngstown Mob. Just find the group. We're over 30,000 people. It just keeps growing and growing. So we appreciate all the great posts that the people are putting in there. Lots of good ones the last couple of weeks. Lots of good interactions.
Yeah, lots of good photos.
Yeah.
We've had Fats Aiello's grandson has been posting a bunch of pictures of him from back in the day, which is awesome. We had somebody talk about some of the arsons maybe that happened back in the day, and we saw some cool photos, the old Colonial House.
Yeah,
that you posted.
So somebody posted about the Colonial House, and got brought up that it got burnt down, and I just happened to post, hey, are there? Can anybody remember any other places that got burned down? Because arson was a huge mob business around Youngstown, Mahoning Valley. Get the insurance off it and all that.
Right.
So usually. Whether they were mob places, whether they weren't mob places, there were so many businesses around the Mahoning Valley that were torched
for whatever reason.
For whatever reasons,
Yeah.
exactly. Let's put it that way. That I was just curious if we could start a list going, and people just started rattling off a ton of them. So, ones you would never even think of as well. So check that out on there. Our post of the week.
Post it. So our post of the week comes from Larry Conti, one of our top contributors. Larry, thanks again for the post. We greatly appreciate all your input into the group. You do a wonderful job. And his is about Ralph Garduno. He showed a current prison photo of him. He's doing life in prison, but is up for parole in 2026. But let's kind of tell, for those that aren't familiar, maybe haven't seen the post, let's kind of tell them what this was about.
Yeah, so in the 1970s, if you look at the court files that's attached to that post, in the 1970s, there were two young women who were allegedly raped.
Yes.
They were go-go dancers. I believe one was 18 years old. I forget the other one's age.
The other one, I think, was like 16.
Yeah, so they had been dancers. One was, the 18-year-old was a dancer, I believe, at Dee's Lounge, which was at right there at the center. Next to, in the same building as Joey's United Music vending company. So anyways, two of these girls were allegedly raped by a couple guys, Garduno being one of them.
Yes.
Actually. And, I guess the way, if you read through the line, between the lines there, it was that the order came down from Joey Naples to take care of these guys.
Right.
And I don't know if that was given directly to Garduno, Mr. Ralph Garduno, but he would later tell the other two gentlemen that he shot that he had to do it or they were going to kill him.
Right.
That's what he said. So explain what exactly happened then, the drive and all that.
All right, so on February 18th, 1975, Ralph Garduno, a gentleman by the name of Kenneth McDaniels, James Krug, and Carl Nedelicki. They were driving from Akron to Youngstown. Garduno was driving. He stops the car in an isolated area. He basically tells these men that he was given orders to either kill them or he would be killed. And Garduno and McDaniel walked Krug and Nedelicki to the edge of the road, and McDaniel shot them. And they leave, and about 5 a.m. in the morning, a motorist passing by finds these two bodies. And one of the gentlemen, Krug, actually was paralyzed.
Yeah, from
From the waist down, and he survived, and he was able to identify, of course, Garduno and McDaniels as being the shooter, and of course, Garduno was convicted for actually 2 other murders that he was also responsible for prior to that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we're at with this case.
And whatever happened to Joey in this case? Do you know?
You know, from the articles that I read, it doesn't really seem like anything appeared to happen to him.
I don't believe Garduno testified again. He didn't cooperate.
Right.
So he went away without ratting out anybody.
Right.
I guess.
And so another thing that comes from this case, right? At the time, Joey is also, I guess he's put on probation by Judge Lambros, and of course, everybody's up in arms because they're like, well, how does this mafia guy get, probation on these gambling charges, right? And they put a list out in the Vindicator, and one of our other top contributors, Don Corbett, actually posted the newspaper article that had the list of the names in it. And of course, one of the 102 people that were on this list was his brother James. Naples, my grandfather. And so they went through this whole list of names and said, well, because of their relationship being related, those were the only 2 on the list that were allowed to actually talk to each other. But going back to this, so, Joey's on probation for this gambling thing, right? And then turns around and now it comes out that he supposedly ordered Garduno to take care of these guys, right? And Joey they bring him in and question him on this. And he tells them, look, I didn't tell him to kill anybody. He goes, all I told them was to straighten him out, right? Now, we know in mob terms, when you tell somebody to straighten somebody out, it usually means one of 2 things, right?
But legally, he didn't say kill him.
Right.
Okay.
So, it's interpretation, right?
Yeah.
So, when we hear that coming from a boss, hey, you need to straighten this guy out, most people assume that means go take care of the guy and get rid of the problem, right?
Yeah.
So we can see where Garduno puts 2 and 2 together, right?
Yeah.
Now, we don't know whether that order was given to him directly from Joey, or if that came down through the channels. I would suspect that it probably came down through the channels, right? Somebody probably told him, hey, Joey's taking all this heat now and this, that, and the other, take care of this problem, Yeah. Of course, when you're talking about the rape of an 18-year-old and a 16-year-old, right? If that were to happen today, people would probably be like, well, them guys got what they deserved.
Yeah, I'm sure they said that back then.
Right. So it's kind of a tough situation when you have, something like that. But great post, Larry Conti. We appreciate it. Keep posting. We've had some other good ones too this week.
Yeah, there was a few, Don Corbett's posted a lot of stuff. But I just want to get back to that post of the week real quick. So yeah, as you mentioned at the top, Garduno is still alive.
Right.
Still serving life in prison. And he's up for parole in a couple of years.
Yeah, so 2026. He's down in Grafton. Originally when he was sentenced for his murders, if you looked at the case text file that Larry was kind enough to dig up and include that link in there, he was originally sentenced to death. And, of course, they ruled that Ohio's death penalty at that time was unconstitutional, so his sentence was taken from death to life.
Yeah.
So, but
interesting.
It's a little bit of a legalese read in the case text file.
Yeah.
But it's a good read. It's worth taking a look at.
Yeah. Again, that's just one of many posts that are out there in the Youngstown Mob Group. Please check those out, and please keep posting, keep sharing. Lots of great information in all of our posts.
Absolutely.
So thank you, Larry. Again, we want to thank our sponsors. Youngstown Tile has been there. We actually just shot a nice little commercial for them. So you guys are going to see pretty soon here. We'll unveil it in the Mob Group and we'll put it on YouTube. It's a Youngstown Mob themed commercial.
I can't wait. He told me about it, and I thought it was just great. So I can't wait to see it.
So that'll be fun. That was a fun little shoot. So we'll put that out there soon. But thank you, Youngstown Tile, for all your support. If you guys are looking for spectacular flooring, go bold, go local, go Youngstown Tile. Of course, we've got Sunrise Inn, a huge sponsor of ours.
Oh, great food there, man.
Oh, I just had a burger this morning.
Did you?
I had a great burger this morning there. I actually had lunch with an old pal of ours, Emil Dinzio. So that was fun.
Yeah.
Hearing a lot of good stories. But thank you, Sunrise Inn. Lots of great history with that place, especially with the Youngstown mob scene. And of course, River Rock at the Amp.
Yeah.
They've been putting on great shows, guys, all summer long. They just did Queen this past weekend, Queen Nation. They had we did a documentary for them with the Pink Floyd show.
I can't wait to see that.
How's
that coming along?
That's coming great, guys. Keep an eye out for that. Probably early next year, you'll see. We'll have that ready to premiere. We'll do something at the Robins.
Awesome.
That'll be a big show. So check that out, guys. It's Wish You Were Here. But River Rock at the Amp, they're doing so many great shows. It's a great venue there for the public in Warren. And, excellent sponsors of ours. So thank you so much. You mentioned we got this big show coming up at the end of the year. November 10th, we're doing a Youngstown Mob Talk live at the Stambaugh Auditorium. We're bringing in Charlie Cavallero Jr., the lone survivor of the bombing from 1962, which tragically took the life of his father, Charlie Cavallero Sr., and his brother, Tommy. One of the darkest moments in Youngstown's history, and everybody's kind of coming together to help us shine a light on these chapters. We've got a great show for you that night, starting with a VIP dinner with Jimmy Mullador, the Vegas player himself. He is a musician, played with Sinatra and Elvis, but he's from Youngstown. He's from Briar Hill. He grew up with Sandy and Billy Naples, and Joey and those guys, so he knows them well. He'll tell some great stories. At which point, after the dinner, we go to the main stage, and we talk about the moment that Sandy Naples was killed in 1960, all the way through the Cavallero bombing in '62, and lots of big names in there: De Niro, the Naples brothers, Cavallero, everybody, and more. And so we've got the last surviving FBI agent to work the case. Cecil Moses is coming in.
Yep.
It's going to be wild. It's going to be a very informative, educational, and at times entertaining night. So we really do hope you come. We're actually working on something right now where we're putting together sponsor packages. What we'd like to do is have a lot of the high school history students from the Mahoning Valley, get them tickets to the show, because a big thing of this is history. This is Youngstown history, and the famous saying, right? Those who forget the past are doomed to repeat it.
Exactly.
So, now I think we can show 60 years later a new generation kind of what was going on back in the last century in Youngstown, the same streets that they might be on today.
Right.
Market Street, bombings on Market Street, innocent people getting killed in a lot of these different hits. So, it's very informative stuff that unfortunately a lot of high school kids have no idea.
Right.
The current generation has no idea this stuff that happened. So, we'd like to fill this place up with kind of different generations and have a lot of history high school students come. So what we're doing is we're putting together sponsor packages where our sponsors will be able to come on as a show sponsor for that event. They'll buy 30 tickets for 30 high schools, whether they're seniors or juniors, whatever, from different schools around the valley. So we'd really love the support, any ideas you guys have. If there's anybody watching from a local school district that wants to implement this, get a hold of us. The show's coming up in November, so we want to get something set up here, in early August so that we can get a program going.
Absolutely. I'm excited because, not only are we going to talk history, right? But we're going to sit down and we're going to be able to kind of flesh out all these theories, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we've heard so many wild theories over the years, right? You've got people that think that, Sandy's death was related to the heroin trade. That it was related to him not kicking up, right? And so we have some evidence that proves that it was more about kicking up than so much the heroin, right? Because we know his girlfriend did have a heroin addiction. But then you get into, the Vince De Niro killing. Was that retaliation for Sandy, or was it something else? Was it another group that was maybe trying to push Vince out, right? And then, of course, you get to the most horrific part of it. and that's, of course, the bombing of Cadillac Charlie and his two boys, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's always been wild speculation of who it was, what it was about, right? And we'll get into some of those theories with Cecil,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And he'll be able to kind of tell us what he saw firsthand and what he experienced. You know, maybe questioning some of these guys and things like that. So I'm really excited to hear that part.
Yeah, you know, we've been doing so much research on this. We've got all these old FBI files, and we've talked to a lot of folks, and we've compiled our own research that we'll be sharing that night for the, you know, as part of the group and part of the event. So we're really looking forward to that, and just like Jim said, fleshing the case out. These are unsolved murders from Youngstown, their history, that have been over 60 years. Unsolved, from Sandy Naples and Marianne Varansich. Vince's killing was unsolved. Billy Naples was technically unsolved. So was the Cavallero bombing, unsolved. These are all officially unsolved cases. So, you know, the modern era of true crime podcasts and things that we do,
Right.
a lot of this true crime look and said, you know, wow, these mob hits back then, they're some of the most original unsolved cold cases
Yeah.
that you have out there. So why not explore it now? And, you know, this is a once-in-a-lifetime thing, because you're not going to get, you know, Charlie Cavallero and Cecil Moses and Jimmy Mullador and guys that you know, remember these events from firsthand
Absolutely.
accounts. You're not going to get them all in the same room to talk about this stuff ever again.
Right.
So we really do encourage everybody to come out for that. And like I said, send us, you know, we have, you know, an email you can send us to steelvalleysyndicate@gmail.com. Any suggestions? Like I said, if you know anybody in a school district who might want to help us get this going, send it to us. Send us any suggestions, any thoughts, any questions. We appreciate all your feedback. So please, you know, reach out to us at steelvalleysyndicate@gmail.com. And, you know, we got a lot of other stuff going.
We got the app.
Oh, yes. So our everybody's been asking, where's the Youngstown Mob Tour app? Because we've been talking about it since February when we first unveiled that we were working on it. It's almost done, guys. It is. We've pared it down. We had hundreds of spots, hundreds of places. We had to kind of pare it down to a manageable amount, maybe about 150. There'll be mob hangouts, mobster homes, hits, you know, where they got shot or bombed. This will all be in there. There'll be so much in there. And you'll be able to get tickets to our stuff on there as well, see our YouTube videos, that kind of thing. So it's all coming along, guys. Big shout out to Pat Palma. He's our kind of MVP here behind the scenes at the Amazing Podcast Company.
Absolutely.
Pat has been working diligently, getting us pictures and photos and everything else for the app. What it is, guys, is you'll be able to research and find where these places were. It'll say, you know, X Street, 5454 X Street, Boardman, this happened, or, you know, something in Austintown that happened, or something wherever in Youngstown that happened. And at the bottom of the thing, you'll be able to click it, and it'll give you a map with whatever phone you have, whether an Android or an iPhone. It'll pull up your app or your map application on your phone, and it'll give you turn-by-turn directions to drive there, to go actually see these places for yourself. So, you know, there's some guys on YouTube that just kind of drive around real fast and go, hey, that's where Sandy Naples was killed, and hey, that's where, you know, that's whatever. You can look at those, but why not do it yourself? You know, you can actually take a mob tour yourself. So we'll have kind of pre-programmed 3 different, you know, kind of little tours on there, or you could just go look at all 150 spots you want yourself. So once that comes out, we're still hoping by summertime here, so coming up in August, we're hoping to get that app out there officially, and really can't wait to share it with everybody. And once we do that, we'll be doing more Mob Talk hits. We'll do a tour feature, like videos, where we go to all of these spots and we give a little research and give a 5-minute little introduction of what they are.
Absolutely.
So you really kind of make it interactive, but everybody's been asking about that app, so, you know, there you go.
I know that everybody's excited. Well, you know, we got so much stuff, and, you know, there's only 2 of us, right?
Yeah.
And of course our MVP Pat. You know,
Pat's our third man.
and so it's a lot of hours, a lot of man hours, a lot of work.
Yeah.
So, you know, just be patient with us. I know you guys have been hearing it since February. Just be patient.
We said it was coming in the summer, so summer's not over yet.
It's not over yet, so it's coming. You know, one other thing I want to point out real quick, for those that like our merch and things like that, we have taken our merchandise store down temporarily. We're working on some new designs and some different things. so that we can get shirts and merchandise to you a little bit quicker, and a little bit more cost effective. So that's why the site's down right now. But anybody that's ordered has already gotten their merchandise, so we're good there.
Yeah, and I would suspect coming up in the new year, hopefully you'll see us at some of the festivals for 2024.
Yeah.
We've been working so hard behind the scenes, and all these other festivals are coming up. The Canfield Fair and everything's coming up quick. You got to really kind of get your tables months ahead of time for those things.
Right.
So we'll be ready for 2024 with some really cool designs, some shirts for you guys. Looking forward to that big time.
So what else you got for today?
Thank you again to our authors that we had for our summer lecture series. That's all wrapped up now. Sean Posey and Alan May, they both came to our live lecture series, gave great stuff. Alan's working on the latest book's coming out. It's called Charlie Brockle, or maybe just Brockle King Rat. So that's going to be a great story about a rat from Cleveland that kind of jammed up. He helped get Emil Denzio locked up. He helped get Phil Christopher, some of these other guys. So he was the King Rat, Charlie Brockle. So that'll be a good book to come out. And I know Alan is actually working on his future Crime Town books. So, thank you to Alan for coming out. Thank you to Sean Posey for coming out. You can get all their books online. And
thank you to all our supporters for coming out. I got to say this, Alan's had some health issues, right? And he was hesitant on, he'd been working on the newest Crime Town book, the 3rd edition, and he's kind of putting it off. But, our fans have kind of reinvigorated him. We had that lecture series, and he just did.
He said he sent me an email the next day, and he said, just when I thought I was out, you pulled me back in, the old Godfather 3 quote.
Absolutely.
So, thank you, Alan, for coming out. Thank you, everybody that came out to those shows and helped give Alan some renewed energy. So we all want to see that next Crime Town book get finished. So
yeah, and once again, thank you to all our members, our associates on the Youngstown Mob group on Facebook. Without you guys, the group wouldn't be what it is. With your continued contributions and great posts, we love you guys. We thank you, and just keep posting, and we'll keep having great conversations.
All right.
So, for this week's edition of Mob Talk, I'm Jimmy Naples. It's Johnny Ciccatelli. We'll see you next time. Ciao.
Ciao.
That was an amazing podcast from an amazing podcast company. If you enjoyed the show, please click the like and subscribe buttons and share it with your friends. It goes a long way in helping us produce more amazing content.